starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
All right, here we go. Right off the top of the show, about 5 seconds before we go on air, Casey asked the most preposterous question that you could ever ask in the history of sports, and we will get to that in just a moment because this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, and we come your way every single day, maybe not every single day, but Monday through Friday from 10 to 12, and today is a special day. It's a day that usually has it's one of the top days of the calendar for me. Masters Sunday is right up there. I know I'm a unique loser because I like golf, but I don't know. This might be the best day of the year. Might be the best sports day of the year for me. It's something about sitting on your couch right around noon and legitimately not having to get up from your couch if you don't really want to until midnight and not having 1 ounce or 1 single second of downtime. Especially with legalized gambling. Speaking of gambling, we'll get into Shohei Ohtahni a little bit later in the show. Big Time 3 by Simon Lukosius. I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout the headlines. We have some brackets. And speaking of brackets, about 2 minutes before, not even 2 minutes, literally 10 seconds before we go on air, Casey McCollister, our esteemed producer, as always, very, very knowledgeable, one of the smartest guys you could ever come across in Blanchester. Ask the question. Hey, do you have to have your bracket all the way filled out before the tournament starts? Did I miss that? Was that the actual question?
Well, like I was wondering if you could get away with just doing the first round before games started, but that's clearly not how it works. And I knew it was a dumb question. As soon as I said it, I was like, that's a really dumb question, Casey. Why would you ask that? And it's because I only made a bracket for the first time last year, so I just couldn't quite recall. And now it's, now it's here. I'm actually doing it right now as we speak.
Nice.
So that's why I asked the question. Yeah, I'm doing the show while filling out my bracket.
You got any good upsets so far?
Do I have any good? Oh, I have a Longwood, obviously. Let's see. I got Morehead State.
Okay.
Really, Casey? All right, kid show.
By the way,
go ahead. How are you, Elliot?
Later when we fill out our bracket, I think how we should do it, since there's 5 people in here, we go by a voting system. Everybody gets a vote.
Sure. You just explain to me how we do it, and we'll do it that way.
Okay, I think that's how we do it.
All right. Yeah, we'll have an off the bench bracket's what you're saying.
Correct.
One team group bracket. Because you are a man of group bets. One thing I've come to know about Elliot Rearing. He's a team guy. Yeah. He's a team sport guy. He likes having a collective effort anytime he possibly can. So that's what we're going to do. I guess we just made that decision on the fly. Yeah. Speaking of on the fly, on the way down here, I went to Dayton this morning, got up the sunrise. By the way, if you're trying to travel, I know this isn't breaking news, but if you're trying to travel east in the morning,
that's where the sun comes from.
What a terrible, terrible existence. If I had a job that made me drive through what I just drove through today, I think I'd have to go to the boss and say, hey, I'm either coming in a little bit earlier or later. You make the decision, but I can't drive through what I drove through today. It was painfully. But I went to Dayton. We are going to start Dayton 1410 ESPN Radio. I believe we're going to start promoting it next week, and then the following week, right after Easter Monday, I think, is when we'll be live on air. So we were setting some things up there this morning. And I was on my way back. I had this grand idea of let's just try the radio out. Let's give it a shot. I haven't listened to the radio in quite some time. Most of the vehicles, I usually aux cable in or Bluetooth in. I use my phone, listen to some podcasts. Speaking of podcasts, there's plenty on the Chatterbox platform. Chuck and Houdini have one. Chatterbox Reds has one. So I'm just, I usually utilize that platform. More of an internet guy, I guess. And I'm just listening to the topics of conversation. One of the conversations they were having on the old ESPN radio was tournament expansion. I guess my head's in the sand. I didn't even know this was something that people were lobbying for. I didn't know it was something that people thought that was even a possibility. But they were talking about 96 teams. Mm-hmm. Let's expand this to 96 teams. We'll talk about that later in the show. But The biggest news that we'll obviously get to in a minute is, in my opinion, is Shohei Ohtani. How this isn't maybe the only thing people are talking about today is literally the saving grace of the tournament. Kudos to UC, by the way. I'm glad they snuck by San Fran. Congratulations, Elliot. And
Wes was coaching for his job last night.
You're the big Xavier. I don't know. Lindsay's obviously a UC student, so I assume she's not a Xavier fan. But did you even check in on that game as a Xavier fan? Were you spite watching at all?
The UC game?
Yeah.
Was I spite watching to see if they'd win an NIT tournament game?
Yes.
Yeah, I was. It was. Yep, you got me. I was hoping they'd lose. Listen,
on a 9 p.m. tip. No less.
I asked Elliot and Tom when Tom was hosting back. I think right around the end of January. I did a buy or sell.
Yeah.
I said buy or sell. Xavier and Cincinnati combined for one tournament win. And we all collectively bought. Of course, we meant the NCAA tournament. I had that clip geared up and ready to go if UC lost. Because not only did we not win a NCAA tournament game, but we wouldn't have won an NIT tournament game. So that's how quickly times have changed. But no, I was not spite watching the UC NIT game.
I was spite watching it. I had it on. We had trivia, as everybody knows. I play trivia on Wednesdays. Shout out to trivia, and we were there. They had the game on. Unfortunately, I requested the actual tournament be on the big TVs. They brought down the projector and they put the UC game on. So it was UC pretty much on all the TVs there. I was forced to watch it against my will. It was fun. It was fun up until the last 2 minutes. And by the way, and this is where Wes Miller loses me. When you're up 10 points consistently in the last 4 minutes, and you're unable to hold these leads. Preposterous. You were up 9 points with 2 minutes left. It's impossible to lose that lead. But he does it every single time, and then what happens? He gets pissed. He loses, and then he gets pissed. Last night, I thought it was going to be really a sad end to our season. But shout out to Simas Lukosius. I might have slandered him a little bit earlier on. He was hit by that car. Mm-hmm. He has been essentially, and really there hasn't been a debate, he's been our best player, or most important player over the past month. If we don't have Simas Lukosius being able to hit this shot,
it's big time.
I mean, was that his 8th three or 6th three? I forget. I think it was his 8th three-pointer, 8 for 10 on threes. If he's unable to do that, we don't win games. We got big men who can't score down low. We got guys turning the ball over left and right. Dan Skillings can't make a dunk. And yet you have Simas Lukosius able to pull that rabbit right out of his hat. So shout out to the Bearcats. It makes me feel better. Even if we lose to Bradley, that's our big next round matchup in the NIT, Bradley. If we lose that, fine, because we were given that moment, that March moment. That's how you start March Madness right there.
That's what you think it is.
And it's certainly not how we started last night with Colorado versus Boise State, which might have been the most unimpressive basketball game I've ever seen.
Now, that's a lie, because you watched Virginia play the night before.
You're right.
So
You're right.
They weren't as bad as Virginia, but it's one of those situations now where the Mountain West, I have a vendetta against them for whatever reason. I think that they're I think they're basically a bunch of bad basketball teams. I've watched them play a couple times.
You liked the Mountain West last year.
I did like the Mountain West, and you know what? I stuck up for the Mountain West, and they burned me. And you know what? You know what happens to people when they burn you? Imagine your feeling if you stuck up for somebody for a whole year, and you were trying to protect them from the bullies, and then you finally get around all the bullies, and then they take the bully side. That's what the Mountain West did to me last year. I tried to tell everybody I watch the Mountain West every night. They're not bad. Well, the problem is when you play in a league and you play against each other, sometimes you forget, like, maybe all the teams aren't very good. And then they play against teams in the tournament, and you're like, maybe I just watched Mountain West all year, and none of them are good. I don't know. So, but to be fair, shout out to Colorado State, who I said I think a couple weeks ago was one of the few teams I actually give credit to. They do have some good wins. Boise State, though, terrible.
Terrible. Well, I was debating this with Sean this morning. Is this the worst first four? Maybe
there was an overtime game last night. Now, I know you were busy watching UC
with the 16 seeds. I
mean, it's a tournament.
I mean, Grambling State versus listen. I'm not going to slander any March Madness moments, and I get that's a fair point. But usually the two marquee games are significantly better, or at least feature better teams or more interesting teams.
Right. Have them be teams that run up and down the court.
Correct.
Right. Like
correct.
just give us some fun.
Indiana State scored 102 points last night in the NIT. 102 points. Instead, the committee looked at Virginia and let them score 14 and a half. 14. Fun fact, the Virginia baseball team scored more runs than Virginia scored in the first half of that game. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm going to say it is. I might do some research right now and find out the first 4 of the past 10 years because this had to be the worst.
I don't know, but I think that the trend, I usually every single year for brackets, and we'll obviously get this towards the later show, every single year I always try to take one of the teams that wins out of the first 4 and have them make a little bit of a run in the tournament because it seems like in the past, VCU's done that. UCLA's done that. I'm sure I'm missing some others that have done that. But it seemed like it was a common trend there for a minute that anybody that had won, that was the 10 or 11 seeds, whichever it was, in the first 4, at least got to the Sweet 16. I'm not doing that this year. Not doing that. Colorado does have some decent pieces, if we're being honest. But they have the old kid from TCU, the Lampkin kid, or is it Lampkin?
Isn't one of their players like highly regarded NBA
He's
prospect?
Terrible. He is, yeah. He might be the first pick. Although a lot of people are saying that this is like one of the weakest NBA drafts in the last 20 years. We'll find out if that's true or not. Then we have, of course, Edwin Arroyo right in the middle of the rundown here. We'll get to that. Matt McClain might be day-to-day, and then all of a sudden surgery's on the table. I don't know. At this point,
the city's cursed.
At some point, see, that's we'll get into that. I'm sure. I don't believe in curses.
Curses are real.
I don't even like the notion of that.
You do? You believe in jinxes and curses?
No, jinxes are different than curses.
It's all the same.
No, it's not.
It's all
Poll
the
question
same.
of the day. Poll question of the day. Are jinxes the same as curses? No. It's 2 different things. I don't think you can be cursed. Like if you want to sit there and say that you're braggadociously going to say that you're going to do something the entire time and then karma bites you and then it doesn't happen, I think that
it's otherworldly forces affecting the outcome of things. I don't believe in that.
I'm with you, Trace.
I believe in ghosts and ghouls, and I really do believe that jinxes and curses are real as well.
I don't believe in curses, to be clear. I think curses is seems like something that
it's
no
just
matter how you act.
It's just a long-term jinx.
No, I disagree.
It's just a long-term
I can't
jinx.
disagree more. I can't disagree more with that statement.
It's not the 1-year lease. You're buying a mortgage on a jinx. You're buying 30-year jinx.
I mean, we could sit here and we could debate this for an hour, and everyone will get mad at us in the chat. They're going to think this is the worst show in the history if they haven't already thought that.
Well, we can talk about the NFL right after.
Yeah, right. We'll do. Sean Connor right now has already smashed his keyboard in because we've not gotten to the college basketball. Speaking of which, nothing worse than listening to the radio. There is no worse radio than sitting there having to drive down the road and listen to all these people tell you who they got going into each round and what it's like. I got news for you. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna do a little bracket. But to sit here and suggest, and you know what, you can watch on ESPN all you want and listen to all these bracket experts. Just go with Jay Billis. He'll tell you how smart he is. They have no clue what they're talking about. They have no clue. That's why we all love this tournament. Is that you have no idea what's gonna happen. So to sit here and proclaim that you 100% or you know something better than other people, you're wrong. People that don't even watch college basketball win bracket pools all the time. So take that for what it's worth. Yash, Celtics #1 seed in the NBA. Elliot, accept it.
By the way, that's €5, so I believe we actually get more money from that. Is that how?
Yeah.
Is that how currency
what's that?
works?
Do a euro translator. How many euros to the dollar?
How many euros equal $1?
€1 equals $1.09.
So how about that?
Almost equal.
That was a $5.09 super chat from our boy.
Can't believe it.
That's not that math.
That's not the right math, but that's okay.
Yeah, that math didn't math. But that's okay. What's happened to the American dollar is what we should really get into on this show.
that is
I mean, what a preposterous
$5.45
thing.
is what
The American dollar has lost all of its value.
Joe Biden. No, shout out to my guy here. Celtics are frauds, and he knows it. But thank you very much for the super chat.
Ooh, it's a pound. It's a pound. It's not a euro.
It's a pound.
It's a pound?
It's a pound.
Pound
Now we're really upside down. Elliot, do you have headlines?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Here we go. You ready?
I'm ready for
Now, we
him.
did talk about some of them, but the
That's
stuff
fair.
I didn't talk about, we'll continue going here. First four, Trace mentioned it. Grambling State, who I bet on, they beat Montana State 88-81 in overtime. Very good game. It was back and forth pretty much the whole way until overtime when it became uncompetitive. They will take on Purdue in the round of 64. I have Grambling State then beating Purdue. Shout out to Purdue. Colorado, they hold on against Boise State. Terrible basketball game. The last 3 minutes of that game, I know Trace put out a tweet. It took 45 minutes. Unbelievable how bad the replay review system is in college basketball. Get rid of it. Just get rid of it. I don't even care if the calls are right or wrong anymore. It's just horrible to watch. Also, if a team calls a timeout, the other coach should not be allowed to call a timeout immediately after. That's what I noticed in the San Francisco UC game. NIT news: Villanova, they got upset by VCU 70-61. UNLV, they beat Princeton 84-77. Appalachian State, unable to come back against Wake Forest. They lose 87-76. Indiana State, as I mentioned, score 101 points in their win over SMU last night. Bradley, who UC will take on, they beat Sister Jean. No Sister Jean magic this year. 74-62 Loyola Chicago Falls. Seton Hall, some are saying were robbed of the tournament. They hang on in overtime against St. Joe's, 75-72. And then we mentioned the UC score on a walk-off three-point buzzer beater by Simas Lukosius. A superstar, he is. Shout out to the Bearcats. Padres. And baseball news, Trace. How about this? And let me make sure this is right because it was still going on as our show.
Yeah, I seen they won, but I don't know the score.
Yeah, so final was 15-11. That hung on, 15-11. By the way, they absolutely juice these baseballs when they do these games.
Ohtahni
right?
had the over for sure.
100%. So Padres win 15-11 in their regular season scrimmage here. Again, it counts for the regular season, but they're just going to go right back to spring training like nothing ever happened. So what a preposterous way to start the season for the MLB on a Wednesday and Thursday morning at 6 a.m. You do you. Yamamoto, the pitcher that the Dodgers signed for a lot of money, terrible. 1 inning. He gave up 4 hits and 5 earned runs. Couldn't have been worse for my boy. Good luck going forward. I hope that contract works out. And other news around baseball, again, Trace already mentioned it. Edwin Arroyo had season-ending injury yesterday, and Matt McClain has been confirmed to not be ready by opening day. The Reds did, however, trade for Santiago Espinal from the Toronto Blue Jays.
They did.
So how about that? I didn't even know Edwin Arroyo was hurt. Did you? That's just news I didn't know.
No, I wasn't aware that he was
found
that
out yesterday.
hurt. So yeah, it's when it rains it pours. They say. You said Sister Jean. No magic this year.
No magic.
She's still alive.
She is still alive.
Wow.
And some would say that's the magic.
Oh, what's the over under on that now? I mean,
Well,
we've got to be
I
getting
don't know
close.
if we can play. That's a little
How
distasteful.
what we're like 102, 103 at this point.
Let's look it up.
All right, you find that out. And other news and notes.
104. She's 104.
104. I mean, 104.
She was born August 21st, 1919.
She was born before Prohibition.
Now she's seen some stuff.
Prohibition,
Yeah,
World War II,
yeah.
Korean War, Vietnam War, Kennedy assassination, RFK's assassination,
What a history buff you are.
Malcolm
Reed.
X's assassination,
A lot of assassinations there, Reed.
Martin Luther King's assassination. The 60s were a wild time. We also had Woodstock, peace and love. What a time.
Yeah, and she also seen UC take the San Francisco Dons. Is that what they're called?
Sure.
Yeah, the Dons. They took them to overtime and found a way to win. So congratulations to them. I didn't want to gloss over the fact that Simas Lukosius, of all guys, I said this to you earlier, and I mean this. Like, he's one of the few guys on the team, if anything, if you want to give him respect for something, he actually looks like he desires the basketball towards the end. He wants it. Did he make all of the shots? No, but some of those guys, they seem like they kind of shy away from the moment when the moment gets to be somewhat bright. Simas, I still haven't
It's
figured out
Simas.
which one that is. So, but Simas Lukosius, congratulations to him. We'll see how excited this fan base is now that he's going to come back and that he's going to kind of be one of those foundational pieces. We'll figure out if that means something or not.
A new career high for him last night, by the way, as well.
Yeah,
28
kudos
points.
to him. Maybe they'll make a run. And West will get the fan base back on their side. Everybody will go see. They'll go see the New Heights podcast at Nipper Stadium for $1,000 a pop, and it'll all be rainbows and sunshines down there in Clifton. Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, the report came out yesterday that there was, at this point, I don't think anyone knows the real truth. There is multiple stories, but the main story right now is that his interpreter had a gambling debt, and that's the story they're telling. He had a gambling debt of $4.5 million. However, the overseas book got a wire from Ohtani's account to supposedly pay off his gambling debt for him. I don't know what I guess I'm not rooting for anything at this point, but it just seems like baseball can't ever get out of its own way, and it's not baseball's fault completely. But every time there is some semblance of success, some semblance of a breakthrough, you have maybe the best player that's ever played the game. Now there's going to be marred. Whether or not it's true, it doesn't matter. He is going to be marred by a certain population of people. Whether you think that matters or not, I don't know, but it's a fact. This is going to be put on the fact that he gambled by some. Now, I'm going to try to bite my tongue today and not, again, I don't know if all the details have come out enough to where we can 100% claim one side or the other. But it does stink. And by stink, I mean it just seems like it's pretty obvious that this isn't what they're 100% saying right now. There's a couple things that come to mind when this whole thing broke that I'm asking myself, and I'm asking you to think through this. Does an overseas gambling company extend a line of credit to an interpreter of the likes of $4.5 million? And maybe they thought, you know what, if you can't pay it, then maybe Ohtani. Maybe he's obviously guys with Ohtani. Maybe he does have money. I'm trying to be nice here. But it seems more and more likely that if you're going to extend a line of credit to somebody, you would extend a $4.5 million line of credit to a guy like Ohtani instead of an interpreter. It also came out that 4 hours prior to Ohtani, and again, I'm not trying to say it's all him, but maybe his legal team. I'm trying to be as nice as I can here. On a day that's glorious and I love and I can't wait for college basketball, this topic kind of stinks if we want to talk some honesty here. But point is that just 4 hours prior to this whole thing breaking, you've seen him in the dugout with said interpreter laughing and having fun, and then all of a sudden the $4.5 million, I believe now is and again, bear with me here, you guys can help fill in the holes, but now we're talking about possible theft or something along those lines. Stole from Ohtani.
Correct.
It's like, I don't know what the story is yet.
Well, here's
Clearly,
the story.
it seems like the Feds will get to it. Go ahead.
This is the story. Is that they were looking into this illegal bookmaking site. They were looking into this bookmaker, and they found a $4.5 million transfer out of Shohei Ohtani's bank account.
Correct.
To this book. When asked about it, Shohei and Shohei's team said it was my interpreter. I was paying off his debts. He was stealing money to pay off his debts. Which, listen, I'm not. Yeah, so sure. Yeah, I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm not gonna speculate here. That doesn't add up. That doesn't add up. I hope it's the truth. And listen to what I'm saying. I hope that the truth is that his best friend, his interpreter, that's been over here in America with him since he's come over, is stealing $4.5 million. Because if it's not the truth, the other thing absolutely sucks. Baseball as a whole, everyone wonders, well, why can't baseball be what it once was? Why can't baseball be what it once was? It's simple. It is absolutely simple why baseball can't be what it once was. We don't trust it. And how can we? How can we trust the game that every time something beautiful happens, every time that we start falling in love with the game, that a sport as gorgeous as baseball has something that mirrors its beauty, is just marred in something absolutely horrific? Look, think about it. The 98, right? Baseball had this strike in the early to mid 90s. Everyone, I'm out on baseball. I'm out on baseball. Then the summer of 98 happens. Everyone falls in love with the game again. And the two people that had everyone fall in love with the game, taking steroids, cheating on the game. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. Continue it on until, this little plucky team called the Houston Astros that everyone falls in love with. Their best player's 5'5" and is the best player in the game. They're cheating. Okay, we get this labeled guy, this handsome guy from Japan that when he comes over, he's going to forego $50 million playing in Japan. He's going to come over early, make minimum, the league minimum when he comes over because he wants to play the game. He's labeled the next Babe Ruth, and he exceeds expectations. And he might be gambling on the game. And if he is, I don't know what he's gambling on, if he is gambling. But if it's on baseball, I don't know if you guys know what the penalty is. People in Cincinnati should know. If you're gambling on the sport of baseball, you are banned for life. It's happened twice. Gone. Can't play anymore. Pete Rose, the Black Sox scandal. Both times it's happened with Cincinnati teams, ironically. But if Shohei is found out to be gambling on baseball, he's gone. He's forever. It almost breaks my heart, guys. Like, I was sitting here thinking about it because I was the biggest. Everyone's like, there's no way this guy's going to live up to expectations, Shohei Ohtani. There's absolutely no way that he can be the next Babe Ruth, and he exceeds his expectations. This guy comes over, and he's incredible. It's something we've never seen before. He's hitting the ball 500 feet. He's striking out the best players in the world, throwing 100 miles an hour. Has the nastiest splitter and slider that we've ever seen. And now we might never get to see him play again. I don't know. I don't know what's going to fall out from this. But if it turns out that he's gambling on the game, if it turns out that it's Shohei Ohtani's gambling debts, how can you it's consistently they are foregoing our trust, this sport is. That we can't love this game anymore. How can we? It's like a relationship where you just keep getting cheated on. How can I trust you? How can I keep doing this? I love the sport. I love Shohei Ohtani. He's amazing. But it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, it does suck, but I don't know for sure if it's ultimately going to fall at the feet of Ohtani. It feels like and I hate to say this, but it feels like even if he did do that, they're going to find a way to make it to where it appears and it comes out that he did it. Because at this point, it feels like the moral integrity that lies in the commissioner's booth isn't very high as it is. And I'm not sitting here trying to suggest for a single second, I guess I am, that I don't trust Rob Manfred, but I don't trust Rob Manfred. For a guy that came out and sit there and just basically pissed all over the World Series trophy, acting like, it's just a piece of metal. Just a piece of metal. Okay, well, if that's the attitude we're going to take as the commissioner of the entire game of baseball, then how in the hell am I supposed to trust the idea that he's going to go and he's going to do the morally correct thing, which would be find out what the truth is in this investigation and actually discipline them to the manner in which Major League Baseball has deemed what that punishment should be, and that is a ban for life. I don't think for a single second that they're going to find a way in where that actually comes to be. Somebody's going to get thrown straight under the bus, and it seems like the interpreter's already basically subject A. There is no way that I'm ever going to believe that the interpreter that came over with Ohtani has been childhood friends with Ohtani since he was 13 years old, is just openly going to steal $4.5 million to try to cover up some gambling debt. Now, stealing is one thing. Like, you could have convinced me maybe he could have just asked Ohtani, like just said, hey, I got a problem. I need your help. Could you help me out? But it seems like they jumped the shark here a little bit, and they came up with a story like you do when you're 10 years old and you're lying to your parents, and you come up with a really half-assed, piss-poor story because you didn't have enough time to think through all the logistics of it. For a single second, I don't think that he stole it. Now, again, you could have convinced me that Ohtani's a nice enough guy where he just signed a $1 billion contract. Now, I know he's not getting all $1 billion of it up front. Clearly, he's not. He's basically making, damn near league minimum. But point is that he has enough money to front and cover $4.5 million for his friend. Sure. Now, what this ultimately plays out and means for Major League Baseball, I don't know. But it just seems like the sport, as you said, Reed, and obviously you're very passionate about it because you care a lot about the sport. I don't think it's probably. You care about the sport more than anybody, certainly in this office. But it just I was thinking the other day, okay, we obviously have Reds tickets. Chatterbox has Red season tickets that we've split throughout a group, and I was looking at the schedule last night. Like, this was last night before the news broke or before I had heard of it. And I was looking at the schedule and I was just thinking, okay, what teams do you want to see? And the very first thing that came to mind was, it wasn't a team. It was like, I'll just see Ohtani. Like, I'll just basically, that's the guy that I'd rather go see. So I don't know. The Dodgers, clearly they have, like you said yesterday, they have 5 guys that might legitimately win the MVP.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it's not just Ohtani, but maybe that speaks to how big of a superstar Ohtani is when they have that many good players on their team. And genuinely, the first thing that I thought of when I thought of who do I want to see, what team do I want to see, it was literally Ohtani. And yeah, the other guys are great, but I didn't care about the other guys. I cared about just seeing Shohei Ohtani. And that's the case for, I guarantee, a significant amount of people. And now the fact that he might be on, this is really, again, maybe I'm overshooting this, but the fact that in a month, if they do some kind of investigation and they find out the truth, and let's just say they do the morally integrity correct thing, which is whatever the truth is, you justify it and you punish it by whatever you said you were going to before the fact, and you don't let who it was affect your decision making. The fact that in a month this guy could be literally never play baseball again is just wild.
Yeah, we were talking about the Dodgers having the same effect. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, the Dodgers having the same effect as LeBron has on the NBA. And what I mean by that is when LeBron goes and visits other teams, right, their attendance skyrockets. The Dodgers already have a big enough brand to where, like, obviously more people are going to go to a Dodgers game here in Cincinnati than a Rockies game. But because of Mookie Betts, because of Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani, who's now in the National League, they were estimating like an attendance spike of 5,000 to 10,000 for every road game they go to. They already led the league. Dodger Stadium did in attendance last year. They were talking about how they will sell out almost every game. That's how much people were excited. They for the first time in a long time, baseball had something that brings people to the ballpark in droves. And that is this Los Angeles Dodgers team, the best team that money can buy, and Shohei Ohtani, who has lived up to every expectation.
All right, while we're already talking about things that stink and are disappointing, we'll shift right into the Reds here really quickly before we kind of hopefully end the show with some positivity. It seems as if, I don't know how we broke all this down, but we got hit with a load of bricks yesterday. You mentioned it. We didn't even know that Arroyo was hurt for the most part. The next thing you know, you find out he's gone all year. You add in the fact that McLean's hurt. You add in the fact that now you don't have Noelve Marte. You don't have McLean. Brandon Williamson is supposedly out. You haven't seen Sam Moll all year. Now, supposedly he's going to be ready by opening day, and there's obviously a laundry list more of guys. I don't want to say that the Reds, it is very much a marathon. It's 162. We all know that the nature of the beast is that if you play a full season, somebody's going to go down. Something, what you would consider a major injury will happen to somebody. But again, I asked the question yesterday, obviously to Marty and Tom, which is, is this how it is for every franchise? I mean, I don't know. I don't pay attention enough to know, but it seems like, how in the world that you look around and it's like we're playing spring training games. And I get, to be fair, you can't like flip the switch as we talked about before. TJ Friedel, obviously he's out as well. Broke his wrist diving for a ball. So you can't just say, oh, you can't dive for balls, you can't play hard, you can't do all these things. But at the same time, I don't. It seems like you got bit by a bug that now at this point you got a little bit of gun shy, if that's the right word to use, going into next spring training. Like genuinely going into next spring training, it's like I don't even know. I don't want to say they can't play at all, but like let's play these guys for 2 weeks, and then we'll just live with the result as long as they can stay healthy before the season starts. Elliot, I don't think this makes a huge difference, quite frankly, for the big league club. You obviously seemed, and you were suggesting that you were disappointed in the fact that Arroyo's out for the year. But I don't think he was going to be a guy that got major league playing time this year. And I don't think he should have, to be clear. This was a guy that was in Dayton last year. He's also a guy, honestly, that's incredibly young. So I don't really want to start the clock. And again, I don't like to convince or say that, gatekeeping guys' service time in the big leagues is something that organizations should do. But when a guy's 19, 20 years old and you don't really think he's going to be a superstar, then I'm not ready to start his clock yet anyways. But it does stink to see that a guy that was playing really well, overachieving to a certain extent, exceeding expectations of what many people that follow this franchise feel. How disappointed genuinely are you?
I don't want to use the word disgusted, but with all these injuries piling on each other back to back to back, and it just seems like there's no end in sight. And that one was just a left hook from behind you. You didn't even see it. They were just creeping up
Sucker
behind
punched.
you, and you didn't see it. I'm not. He was not going to play this year. Probably he was probably not going to put on a Reds uniform. But I'd like him to continue to develop for maybe next year. I think that's fair, and especially when I talk about depth, and that was my big focal point heading into this season was the Reds are loaded pretty much. We've got great players at every position except for center field. We've got TJ Friedel, but nobody was behind him. But the infield's loaded. We got 3 guys playing right field, 2 guys playing left field. We got 2 good catchers. Pitching staff, we got a lot of guys. It's like the number one trait for this team was going to be how great its depth was. And now we're losing it all. This is a franchise who, in back-to-back seasons, has broken franchise records and most players used in a season. They've used nearly 70 players back-to-back years. And that's where I'm starting to get concerned. And people I saw on X.com were blaming the training staff. I saw somebody blaming David Bell. David Bell shouldn't speak on these matters because some of them are going to get hurt. It's like, what are we doing? It's at some point you are who you are, and I'm starting to be concerned that the identity of this team is a team that gets hurt. And it's hard to argue against it. It is. I know there's people who want to tell me that no one's injury prone. These things happen to everybody. They don't happen to everybody. Or you could argue our 2 best hitters are gone. Maybe 3 best hitters are gone to start the season. Now, one of them was because of selfish reasons, and that upsets me now more than ever. I think when that news broke, if that news would have broken like today instead of when it did, he would have entered a world of shit. He would have. Because what he did, Noelvi Marte did, quite honestly, has... I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it. So I'm gonna hold myself back. But it's selfish and stupid, and he hurt the team. You got guys going down every day now, seemingly, for injuries, and we got one guy who's openly cheating and doing things the wrong way. I talk about spring training, and Reed made a semi-decent point in calling me a hypocrite because I said in the NFL I want our guys to play at least a game. And that's a fair point. But there's 30 games in spring training. I don't think it's nearly the same as 3 NFL preseason games. I don't think it's the same. I don't think you can compare them. I don't think these guys should be playing in every single game. If this spring training hasn't shown you that, then I don't know what will. Guys are going to get hurt. That's part of the sport. Trace said it earlier. It's a marathon. It happens. But not this many. Not every single season. I'm very concerned at some point Hunter Green's going to get hurt. TJ Antone is somebody who has not been healthy at all in his career.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to say I'm going to sit here and linger on that. I'm not rooting for injuries, but I'm saying you have to at least prepare for it. And I thought coming into this season, we were prepared for it. Now it seems like we're not prepared for it because we've been hit so hard. Matt McClain not ready for opening day, what is that? Not being ready for opening day? Noelvi Marte suspended for steroids. TJ Friedel's out for 2 months. I don't know. I'm very concerned. The only bright side, if there's any, is that I think this fan base was so absurdly high on this Reds team. We were talking World Series playoff teams. I think the expectations are now tampering a little bit. I think they're going down. And that puts me in a good place because I think if we can temper our expectations and we say, yeah, we're just going to fight for our division. If we can get to 85 wins, maybe there's a chance we slip in. I think that's where I am right now.
Well, what can they control is the question.
You can't. Well, you can't.
That's the whole argument. That's the crux of the argument that
Correct.
I have. It's like, okay, what can you control? I'll tell you what you can control. You can control not cutting Jose Barrero. Now you can sit there and laugh and make fun of that and say, oh, Jose Barrero. But I'm just saying, like, again, whether or not Jose Barrero is going to make a difference, I'm not going to sit here and suggest that he was. And yes, they just added Blue Jays
Santiago Espinal, former All-Star.
Yes, not that long ago either. A couple
star.
years. But my point to all of that is saying it's like that's why I wouldn't really make those decisions until you absolutely have to. Until you absolutely have to. David Bell came out and said, and again, this is probably the difference between a jinx and a curse, is that when you come out and you say this guy isn't going to make the team, you said that like on March 9th, March 8th, whatever day it was somewhere in that time frame. What do you mean he's not going to make the team? You just automatically assume? Well, a day later, Noel Marte, boom, pop for steroids. I think less than a week later after that, you had the first situation with McLean, which was his oblique situation. So now, again, for a team that's supposedly so deep, right now the backup shortstop is Spencer Steer.
No, they're not deep anymber. That's the biggest concern.
Now I know they just added Santiago, so I got to keep saying those things. But my point is, like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on acting like this team is unbelievably deep. And you know what? This is one of those things where I don't like people dunking on both sides of the aisle of this stupid situation of you got to get rid of India for nothing at all. But then on the opposite side, you have India as a team leader, and he's indispensable, and essentially he should be able to play second base if he wants to because he's a team leader. But this is a point in the direction of those folks that are saying, like, be careful what you wish for if you just want to get rid of India. Because India at this point, if we didn't have him, if they would have traded India for some low-level prospects, I mean, the vibes around here.
In trouble.
The vibes around here would be at an all-time low.
What do you make of the people on X.com, and there are many of them, blaming the Reds training staff?
See, here's the thing. I try to find myself in the middle on this because I don't know 100% certain as to if it's just bad luck or if there's some training regimen that these guys do, and I don't think that they do, to be clear. I'd have to get more information on this. But whatever training regimen that the Reds might hand out in the offseason and say, we want you to do X, Y, Z to get you ready for spring training, that's the only argument I think that the fan base could have as to why, what are we doing differently than everybody else? Because it seems coincidental that you go back into the history, and again, this is where your curse comes into play. It just seems like we've had a run of bad luck in this town with injuries, period. Right? I mean, you can say whatever you want, but Carson Palmer comes to mind.
Joe Burrow.
Not even that. I would go back to saying Andy Dalton was playing MVP level football and he gets hurt, and the next thing you know, you got A.J. McCarron who's trying to lead you to a victory, and damn near he pretty much did, and the next thing you know, you fumble the football. Then you add up, and then now Joe Burrow gets hurt. Ken Griffey Jr. came over. You're super excited about Ken Griffey Jr. He was supposed to be, this basically one of the greatest players of all time. And I'm not suggesting that Ken Griffey Jr. was an unbelievable, huge disappointment. But let's be honest, he was nowhere near the player in Cincinnati that he was when he was in Seattle. He blew his hamstring out rounding third base. So, yeah, I mean, there is some scar tissue here that this town has. Kenyon Martin goes down right before the NCAA tournament. You'd like to think that team could have won the whole damn thing. That's why you have the reactions you have when it comes to the training staff. You want to vent as a fan. You want to blame somebody as a human being more times than not. Not many people would be like, you know what, they're doing a good job. They just have a lot of bad luck. That's not how we're built. Most people, that's not how their psychological nature comes with any kind of friction. You want to blame something and somebody. I don't think that the blame for the training staff is totally warranted. But I'm not going to sit here and act like it's nothing at all either, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
I'll give maybe 10% of what I would say the actual issue is to a training staff. Maybe they could have controlled in an off-season workout plan for they knew that McClain struggled with an oblique because he had the same issue towards the end of last year. Maybe they would have had a better plan on how to go about rehabbing that, and they gave him bad advice, if you want to call it that. Or, to be honest, these guys make so much money now that I don't really know how much they're relying on the actual team physicians and team doctors and team training staff. They have their own guys. It's just like a QB coach in the NFL. What's a QB coach in the NFL outside of preparation? They're not really teaching Joe Burrow anything. Joe Burrow's got his own trainers, his own staff, his own concept of what he wants to try to accomplish. He's not getting his advice from some, QB coach. Now, as far as game planning and maybe being a psychologist, sure, a QB coach can matter. Same with a hitting coach in Major League Baseball. So these lower level jobs, and I guess one would argue, a great argument back to me would be, then why have the jobs in the first place if they mean nothing?
Correct.
Fair point. I don't 100% know. But do you actually, I don't want to say you seem like a guy that would blame the training staff.
I don't blame the training staff at all.
Right.
The only argument you can make for it is in back-to-back years, due to injuries primarily, the franchise record has been set for most players used in a single season. That's the only argument I have. It's now a consistent trend where every single guy, it seems like, is getting hurt. There's one guy, in my opinion, that should take all of this blame, and that's Noelvi Marte. He should get every bit of blame in the world right now for I'm not going to say ruining the season, but if I didn't want to say it earlier, but it is. He's ruining the season.
Come on.
If you have Noelvi Marte, I'm not going to say no problems, but the TJ Friedl 2-month news isn't as bad. Matt McClain being gone for X amount of weeks isn't as bad because you have Noelvi Marte, a guy who ended the year on a 19-game hitting streak. You have that guy in your wings, a guy who I thought was going to be the Reds' best player this year. You have him. Now you don't because of a stupid decision, and he gets caught cheating, and it puts us in a whirlwind. People were saying the Reds knew. They most certainly didn't know about that nonsense because they wouldn't have cut Jose Barrero. I'm not a Jose Barrero fan. I don't think Jose Barrero is very good, but you would certainly like to have the option to bring Jose Barrero up right now. I'm not going to say the season's over, but I couldn't feel worse. I couldn't feel worse to start a season.
Well, the good news for Reds fans and those that are watching this program is that, and I'm not suggesting that your displeasure is completely unwarranted, but for a guy that usually would be off the reservation or say things that are just desperately terrible and it's never going to come back, if anyone in my life, I'm thinking through all the people that I know, if there was anyone in my life that would tell me that and I would still have some semblance of solace, because I know you love that word.
I do.
You're the guy I would want me to tell me that news. Because I still would think to myself, well, that's coming from Elliott. It's probably not nearly as bad as he's making it out to be. I think that this, again, is a little bit of a blip on the radar. This Reds team, mind you, last year started off incredibly slow, and then they had all of the youngsters come up, and they got off to a great start, with those youngsters. But I do want to caution people in saying, every time I see the super optimists come out and say, look at this opening day roster
the
last
optimists
year.
are crazy, man.
And they won 81 games. Or what was it, 82 games? Whatever it was. Some of that is a little bit distasteful because I don't know if that same group last year that came up can replicate what they did last year consistently. Let's be honest. They caught lightning in a bottle for two and a half weeks. They played a little bit over their head for a short stretch of baseball, and I'm not suggesting for a single second that they're going to be able to replicate that. I think back similar, again, to cross sports reference here, similar to when, I don't know, remember when the Pittsburgh Steelers were like 9-0 or 8-0 in the NFL, and everyone just knew, like, this team isn't that great. Mm-hmm. That's the same type of feeling I get with the Reds towards the back half of last year. They played great. I don't know if they were as good of a team as their record indicated for a month and a half of baseball that they actually played.
And outside of Spencer Steer, the players who played great, Noelvi Marte, Matt McClain, TJ Friedl. Those were the guys who played like that.
Benson.
And Will Benson.
Ellie
No.
De La Cruz.
When
they went on that winning streak, Ellie De La Cruz was
a good
big reason as to why.
Correct. He was good.
I'm just trying to reel you back in.
I'm just trying to say that
they also didn't have Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo.
But are you not concerned about that? We've got Hunter Green, a guy who has been, I don't want to use the word injury prone, but I'm going to have to unfortunately use it.
Well, he hasn't been injured
He's been injured quite a bit.
Okay,
he's been injured quite a bit.
We can sit here and dwell on the past of what guys have been in the past, but you can't play it both ways. You can't sit here and be like, well, all these guys that are healthy are going to be injured because they've been injured before, and then all the guys that obviously
that's
are
true,
somewhat hurt.
but
I mean, at some point, just go bury yourself 6 feet deep, Elliot, and just stop watching the sport.
That's fair, but I'm trying to be a little bit. I can't be an optimist. I don't know how people are optimists when it comes to this franchise. I don't. I haven't seen it in quite. Reed is the very first person every single morning to tell me we are not better than the Pirates. We have been arguably the worst franchise in Major League Baseball over the past 25 years.
Let's smile over there.
25 years, we've been the very worst. We've advanced in the postseason 0 times since 2000. We are the only franchise to do so. And I'm supposed to sit up here and be happy that the guys who were great last year are hurt this year, and the guys that were hurt last year are going to be healthy this year. That's where I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do it. I'm trying to be optimistic. I said the Reds were going to win this division. I said they're going to make the postseason. But now, unfortunately, I have to walk it all back.
Well, you're Jekyll and Hyde a little bit. I mean, at some point, yeah, those guys that you just mentioned, if they were here, would it help? Yeah, but how?
It help. It's going to keep us alive.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're overvaluing some of these guys a little bit.
I don't think I
Just
am.
a little bit.
I don't think I am.
All right, we'll find out. They get to play games, and right now, luckily, I mean, you believe it or not, despite what Elliot tells you, the Reds have not even lost a single game yet.
I hope Candelario's good. That's all I'll say. Is I hope he's good. He hasn't been good spring training. I'm not looking into spring training stats, but the Reds have hit on exactly one free agent signing.
He's not been good, but I'm not looking into him.
They've
Stuart
hit on
Fairchild's
one.
an MVP of the spring.
They've hit one free agent. They've hit one free agent signing over the past 15 years, and that was Nick Castellanos. One. Other than that, it's been a disaster. And if whatever I've seen in spring training, I'm going to try to stay positive and not look at his 0.94 batting average. I'm going to try not to look at it.
I'm just trying to help you out a little bit. You're so down in the dumps today about this Reds team that has literally lost 0 games. They got off to like a 7, or they were like 5-17 at one point last year. They had Kevin Newman, Henry Ramos, some other random bum-ass players all over the field. And, yeah, they were within the pennant race until the last week of the season. I'm not here to suggest for a single second that this is all well and good. I am going to say just pump the brakes a little bit on canceling the season because you have a sophomore in Noelve Marte that you've seen play for 40 days. Now the next thing you know, you actually think he's going to win the Silver Slugger Award. You got TJ Friedel, who basically was a struggling minor leaguer until last year. He got off to he had a really good year last year. And I'm not trying to kill these guys, but again, Matt McClain hit 220 in Chattanooga 2 years ago. Yeah, he played great last year, but I'm not going to sit here and act like we got, Derek Jeter, who's been hurt. Next thing you know, Alex Rodriguez is hurt, and Jim Edmonds in center field's hurt, and that's basically who we've lost. Stuart Fairchild's hit 900 this spring. You bring up the fact that Jamier Candelario's hit 0.75 every 5 seconds, and then you quickly recheck it by saying, well, I don't want to bring up spring training stats.
I don't bring up spring
but I
training
bring it up
stats.
every time I bring up Jamier Candelario. And then on top of that, I won't bring up the fact that Stuart Fairchild is the replacement to TJ Friedel, but he's hitting 900 this spring with an OBP of 1,000.
I don't look into spring training. I'm not gonna bring up the fact that every starting pitcher in our rotation has an 8+ ERA this spring. Well, I'm not bringing it up.
Do me a favor.
But if I were to bring it up, I'd say there's decent evidence that we might have a struggling season this year.
You do me a favor then. I want you to do me a favor. This is your only job, and I'm gonna get into college basketball expansion next, because we're gonna do our brackets, and that's probably gonna take up a little bit of the show, and we'll try to elevate the mood in here as we head into what I think is the best sports day of the year. Do me a favor. I want you to go back and dig up Johnny Cueto's spring training stats. I want you to tell me, in that same year when he's actually thrown the ball, I want you to tell me what his we'll use ERA, what his ERA in the spring was, and then what his ERA in the season was.
I'm not looking it up because I don't use spring training stats. I'm saying
but
if I did,
you use it every
Reed's
time.
the king of Reed brings up a great point. So all spring training stats are something to fit your narrative. That's what they are. The narrative I have is that the Reds are going to stink, and I can use a lot of evidence for it.
Okay, well, then this is my only thing before we move on. Say something about Jamier Candelario, and don't bring up spring training stats.
I think he's a leader.
Thank you.
I think he's going to be the leader of this team.
All right, now we can move on.
co-captain with
I'm
Jonathan.
glad we got through that together. I mean, listen, I am not usually super optimistic in nature, as many of you know. You call me Toxic Trace, this, that, and the nature, and I'm sure I'm going to get to Toxic Trace here in just a second because college basketball expansion. One of the very few things in life that I actually feel like is nostalgic to me is this tournament to a certain extent. I don't know what it is, but ever since I was young, whether it was being in the basement of my grandpa, I used to get this poster. I don't know if they make them anymore, but I used to get this. He would always find a way to get it. I have no idea where he got it from. I almost think it was something that maybe came in with like the Sports Illustrated's RIP, and it would be like a fold-out thing, and it would be a poster of the actual blank bracket, and then you had to fill the bracket in. So I would always fill the bracket in with them, and then I would make my guesses, and we would just do it. And obviously at that point it was just fun in nature. But I just grew up loving this tournament. And sometimes I wonder where we're headed, and you get older and you start to think, when you were young, you used to always make fun of the older generation because they're always acting like it's doom and gloom and the world's about to end. And, for instance, you always feel like the issues in which they find very pressing are just not that big of a deal. So maybe I'm starting to enter that sector of my life. I'm trying to check myself at the door and saying, am I just maybe being the old grumpy man, the old man yells at cloud meme? Maybe I am, maybe I'm not, I don't know. But there's certain things that seem like you would want to hold on to that are just nostalgic in nature, and they're perfect the way they are, and you don't need to change them. And the one that seems the most glaringly obvious to me would be the NCAA tournament. I have no idea why you have to even touch it in the first place. Yes, if you want to convince me that you have to add 4 more games at the beginning of the tournament, largely just because the way that the NCAA is structured is you have too many at-large bids now to where it just really doesn't vibe that well. Okay, fine. You can spare me that. But 96 teams is what we were actually debating on the radio as I drove in here today. 96 teams? Did we not just watch what many of us thought was a bubble team that they didn't even want to be a part of the tournament? We just watched the team score 14 points in a half of basketball. And we said, you know what I want? I want more of that. Feed me more of that. We want less automatic bids and more at-large bids. Why? Because we've proven one thing in this country so far, and that's that human beings can figure out who the best team is before they play. The one thing that's actually beautiful about this tournament is that we don't do that. Like in college basketball, if you play a college basketball season, you can make the case that if you don't lose your last game, you are the champion at the end of it all, which is a glorious thing. It's one of the best things about sports is there's not supposed to be all of the riffraff that you get in corporate America. All of the red tape, all of the politics, all of the nepotism, all of the things that we genuinely despise when it comes to glad-handing in this country don't usually happen in the purity of sport. The best players play. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter, who you know. If you're the best, you play. Now, basically, we're getting into a sector of this little situation that we call jurisdiction within the NCAA and the tournament, to where now we're starting to try to convince ourselves that maybe having all these lower level teams isn't the way to go. We just seen 16 seeds beat 1 seeds. If you said that Fairleigh Dickinson would be able to beat Purdue, nobody would have believed you. What are we trying to accomplish by taking out these automatic bids and replacing them with more at-large bids? What's the point? Because if you think it's money, and that's the argument that some are going to make, when is it ever, I get the world is ran by money, and maybe this is where my head's completely in the sand. But, at what point is enough money enough? At what point do you realize, if you're going to die? You're going to die. You're going to be dead at some point in your life, and you will not have money.
What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that if you make every decision in your life, when you try to go through your life and you literally do everything because of money. Oh, I'm not going to go on that trip because I want to save the money. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, what happens when you're dead? You going to keep all the money? I'm asking a serious question.
I get it. No, you're making good points. I just don't Trace, trying to map out the routes of your of your monologues or rants is like, how do we get from the expansion to you're gonna die? You're gonna die.
Because these guys in suits want to ruin all the things that we love. I sit here and I'm trying to watch professional golf every Sunday, and half the damn field's playing in some no-name bullshit league on CW because they got $9 billion. But you know what? I don't get to watch John Rahm anymore. I don't get to watch Cam Smith anymore. I don't get to watch all these great players play anymore. Why? Because they're going to make billions of dollars, and that's all good and well for them. But you know what it's not good for? It's not good for me and the vast majority of people that care about sports. And all I'm asking is at some point with the NCAA, as they sit here and they try to dissect and ruin college athletics because they can't figure out how to get an NIL, now we want to dip our hand in the pot of something that really, quite frankly, that the vast majority of America loves, which is the NCAA tournament. Go ahead, make it 96 teams. Because at some point, you're going to jump the shark. At some point, you're going to ruin what everybody actually liked. And then you lose the money. And then you lose the nostalgia. And then you lose all the things that once made it great. That's my point. And my point is if money is the deciding factor in your life of almost every decision you make, which it is, we've become this basically country. And I get that your foundational principles need to be met with money, okay? I completely understand that. I'm not naive to the fact that money is basically the vehicle that makes all of this work. But at some point, my point is with the NCAA, is what's enough? How much is enough? How much more do you actually need to make before you start to make every decision that you go by off of money? There's no other reason outside of adding 30 whatever more teams to this is, 96 teams. What's the answer? What's the answer? Why are they going to do it?
Well, you know the answer. You said the answer.
And it is what?
They want to make more money. They want to make more money.
And what's the point is my
They're going to die, right?
What's the point?
I first of all, you're right. The fact that and by the way, this is why the NCAA, this is where they lose me, because it's always been about that for them, and everybody knows that. I don't want to say they're scumbags, but it's a scumbag organization. That's a group of people that have no interest in protecting collegiate athletes. Their goal is to make as much money as possible and get as rich as possible and get these universities as much money as possible. It's always been about money. It'll always be about money. You can't change that. You are right. You shouldn't base your life on money. You 100% should not. But I know how this works. I know that's what they're going to do. And anybody who's saying they should change this tournament is incorrect, because it's perfect the way it is. If you wanted to adjust anything, maybe you shake up the first four. You change how that. But even that, I wouldn't touch anything. Anybody who's calling for it just wants more chaos, and I think that's selfishly what we all want. Because when you think of March Madness, you think of a 16 seed beating a 1 seed. It's only happened twice, but the possibility of it is where some fans are like, oh, that sounds good. We're gonna get a lot of 16 seeds. You're not. You're going to get a 20 seed playing a 1 seed, and it's going to be Chicago State.
What they would do is
they're going to make it more at-large teams. They're going to try to put Xavier in the tournament, UC in the tournament.
Well,
let's sneak in. Why don't we put in what was another team? Virginia in the tournament.
It would be that the 32 teams 32 teams would be already advanced in the tournament. They would just have the last 32. Or I don't know the direct, like if you're a conference champion, you already make it to the second round. You already make it to the round of 64, and then they would just add another round so that these at-large bids would play. Basically, every at-large bid would play each other, right, to get into the tournament. It would just be all the at-larges playing each other to get into the tournament. I'm okay with that. Listen, this sport has already long ago lost its credibility in crowning a champion based on the regular season. We all know this. We talked about this yesterday. There's not a sport in the world that determines their champion in a worse way. We love it, right? We love the tournament. But if we're taking the whole body of work, which is regular season plus tournament, like the college basketball is terrible at determining who the best team is.
Yeah.
It's just who gets hot at the right time, and that's okay. We trade that. We say, yeah, we like the way the tournament is. We like all the chaos. That's all right. And they're just adding to that. I'm okay with another day of 16 more games. I'm okay with that.
I'm with you, Reed. I'm with you because you're sifting out all the bad teams, like you're saying, like the Virginias, with the at-large bids. And then when you get to the actual, what we're used to, the 64 round, you're going to have all the teams that deserve to be there, more than likely.
Listen, if the idea that you guys don't like the expansion is that it's going to dilute how good the games are, there's already a lot of bad games, but you're going to find more good games because there's more games. And that's
so we get rid of Selection Sunday. Selection Sunday is not even a thing anymore. I don't care about the bubble. Don't have any of the drama on championship week. Don't give a shit whether or not you have to win your tournament to get in. So when you're UC this year, you got to win 3 or 4 games in the conference tournament. That's fun. It's not fun to be in that predicament, but you know what you have to do. Now UC is going to be like, what's it matter? We're going to get to play some random Virginia. We're going to get to play someone that's like Georgia. They're 17-16. Georgia's 17-16. They deserve a chance to get in the tournament.
How often is a team how often does the conference champion determine who's going to get in over what would change? Because the MAC champion, MAC's not going to get 2 teams in. The MAC champion still gets in automatically. How often does a Power 5, Power 6 conference have a team in the championship game that's not going to make the tournament anyways? Right? That doesn't change a whole lot. In fact, it changes very little in terms of conference championship week.
Well, I think Blackmore made a decent point. If you go to 90 conference tournaments, you don't even play them, right? Because it wouldn't really matter we would just go by regular season winner for the lower conferences and stuff like that.
There's times where there's a Power 5 team. Vanderbilt did it a few years ago. I think.
Yeah, Georgetown. It happens every couple years.
Georgetown's done it,
but it doesn't happen every year.
But just because it happens every so often, it doesn't happen all the time, doesn't mean that you just eliminate it. That's my point. You have a chance, or the regular. I guess the point I'm making is, I get the regular season's already diluted. So you could already make the case in point, to me, and say regular season. But honestly, the regular season would genuinely mean nothing. It would mean literally nothing at all.
You'd still be vying for the first round of the tournament. You'd still be vying, because once again, 32 teams would get a bye. So you're not worrying about playing that play-in game as it would be crafted, right? For a lot of teams. For teams like Duke, Kansas, all these teams, the regular season barely matters anyways. We're talking about Kansas having their worst year in a decade, and they're about 4 seed. That's Xavier, my favorite college basketball team. They've been better than a 4 seed 3 or 4 times in their history. I don't know. I'm okay. We love this day. We love today and we love tomorrow because there's so many games. What can happen? Buzzer beaters, craziness, chaos, upsets, and it's just adding to that.
And the reason I think that many people like that is because they come from brands and they come from teams that many people might not see on a day-to-day basis. They're Cinderella stories. That I think is what the drama unfolds in the tournament. I could give a rat's tail if I'm watching Georgia versus Xavier in some random game before the tournament starts to figure out if they're going to be a 10 or 11 seed. Let me tell you how much basketball I watched of Colorado and Boise State last night. Not a lot. Not a lot.
Let me ask you this, and there's one argument I've found that can maybe debunk your point. You've watched this first 4. Virginia gets in over Seton Hall, St. John's, a lot of more deserving teams, 5 more deserving teams that were probably available. If you were to do this,
they're trying to get rid of more of the idea of I guess you could argue Indiana State. Those teams had a chance to get in the tournament. And what'd they do, Elliot?
They choked.
Or they lost.
Again, Virginia, as it stood, the team that made the tournament did not deserve to make the tournament over the teams that were left out. That's a fact. Everybody knew that going into it. They were plus 400 according to Vegas heading into Selection Sunday. The team, the Virginia basketball team, who had a camera on them all of that day, they were jumping for joy. They couldn't believe they got in because it was so preposterous. If you expand it the same way in college football, how Florida State didn't get to go in because their quarterback got hurt, you expand it and you give them a little bit of a wiggle room. Now 30 teams is a little preposterous, and that's kind of where it's at some point, because then the first Thursday and Friday, it's All right, well then there's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then it just
How many
goes on
automatic
forever.
bids are there? How many conferences are there?
30 something, right?
32?
Is it 32?
It's right around 32. I don't know if it's
I think it's
exactly
32, right?
Sure.
So then you're just making it to where the at-large bids have to play to get into the tournament.
But they have to play against a team that's sizably worse that year. Why does a team that's right on the bubble? Why does Indiana State have to play a sub 500 piss poor name the team in some Power 5 league because Joe Blow says they're good enough to beat them? Why don't they just make the damn tournament?
Wouldn't that make the conference tournaments and everything like that more important because it advances you in the tournament already? Because in theory, I'm green on this whole thing. I know very little about this whole thing. I'm just thinking what makes sense. And if you're adding 32 teams, you're saying that all the at-large bids have to play. The conference champions automatically get to the round of 64.
I think that, again, to a certain extent,
The conference, the tournament already jumped the shark a long time ago. Like 68 teams is a ridiculous amount of teams for a tournament.
well, realistically speaking, the reason in which why it's so many is because of the automatic bids, which again, that makes some of the tournament why the way it
So
is
you
what
should
it
play
is.
like if yes, you're right. So if you jumped the shark a long time ago, you have 68 teams. That's already a ludicrous amount of teams
Well,
for a
then
tournament.
let's just do it. Like I guess my case in point then would be, and we can get to our ad reads and our brackets next. Would be like, you know what? I'm all for it. Let's just make it more fun. Let's just make it like the high school playoffs. Just let every bastard in then.
is
Why
great.
not? More games. It's more fun. Let's put DePaul up against whoever the hell they're going to play. Why not? Got more games. The regular season is already diluted. Let's just make it to where it's completely worthless.
True TV would be all for it. But saying all that, Mr. Mo brought up a good point. If you're not good enough to make the field of 68 or 64, whatever it is, you're probably not good enough. And I think that's you don't want this to become a handout thing, and that's where I think it would become if you expand it to 90. I don't think they will, by the way. I do
Okay.
not think there will be an expansion.
Rick asks, why is Wagner in the tournament? They went 17-15. They have no chance against UNC. Why would the regular season champ of any conference be eliminated? Because one loss in their conference tournament. That's fine. If you want to make the case in point, go do what the Ivy League did. I don't care. If that league values the fact that the regular season's more important than the tournament, and they want to crown their automatic bid, which is what the conferences are allowed to decide on, then essentially that's fine. I don't care about that. But you're asking me, why did Wagner get in? Wagner got in because they actually won something. They won a championship within their division, their league.
But it would.
I'd like to know. Could you do me a favor now?
But
I'd like to know in this automatic bid situation, or not automatic bid, but this play-in game situation. So you're basically going down to the 64. The
32
64th,
teams would get a bye. 32 teams would get a bye.
You're going down to the 64th team, right? 32 teams are going to get an automatic bid. They're in the tournament.
Well, I'm saying in a
tournament,
96-team tournament, 32 teams would get a bye in the tournament.
Okay, that's fine. So then after that, you got 64 teams, correct?
Yeah.
That are playing themselves back in the tournament. I want to know based off Ken Palm. Let's just use Ken Palm, which isn't perfect, but let's just say it for that. I want to know what the 64 ranked tournament team would be that's not a bye. I want to know how bad that team is. And
Want to know who the 64th team is in Kimball?
No, because that wouldn't be fair. It would be the 64th team that didn't get a bye. So give me somewhere that's in the 90s. Give me a team that's in the 90s.
UCLA.
What's their record this year?
16-17.
Okay.
Indiana, exact same record, exact same Big Ten conference record as Michigan State.
Okay. Give me some more.
Georgia. UMass. Loyola Chicago. Well, they're in, right? Or Loyola Chicago. These are the teams of the 90s. Ken Palm. Georgia, UMass, Indiana, Loyola Chicago, Louisiana Tech, LSU, George Mason, UCLA, St. Joe's, Charleston, and St. Bonaventure.
All right. So then they theoretically should get a chance to beat Indiana State or something like that.
They would play a team like Boise State, Cincinnati,
All right.
Indiana State.
We'll see if they ultimately do it. I think that essentially at some point it just becomes to where you want to mess with something that's already more than fine.
I mean, we're thinking about this a little too hard, right? It's just the NIT teams, basically, right? A majority of them, right? And some of those games are all right. They're not uncompetitive.
Yeah, Cincinnati
Like
just won
a-
on a walk-off or
Yeah,
on
I mean,
a game
like that-
winner
that's
last
a great
night. So we'd get
example.
that in the tournament. That's terrible for the sport.
I don't know. I just logically speaking, that's what I was just looking at as the NIT games. And there are some bad ones, but I think there's more competitive ones in there than there are not.
If the idea is that we love this tournament because it's a lot of basketball and it's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of teams, adding to that doesn't seem like a terrible thing. If the idea is that the terrible thing is that we're making games uncompetitive, we're making the tournament uncompetitive, there's already plenty of games that are uncompetitive.
You are devaluing the concept of making the tournament.
It's already devalued.
No, it's not. There's 2 teams in this damn city that everybody acts like they're prideful. They got big-time programs, and I'm not arguing they aren't, and neither one of them made the tournament. Cincinnati hadn't made the tournament in 5 years, yet everybody around here puts their chest out and barks around how great of a program UC has. And I'm not saying they don't, but the tournament means something. If you make the tournament, it means something. You put in the top 100 teams in the thing, gone are the days of saying we made the NCAA tournament. Nobody gives a rat's tail anymore. They could care less.
Trace, you would
That's
care.
all.
Which
is fine. Well, we can make postseason baseball the same way if we like. Why did everybody make fun of the NBA playoffs? Because literally everybody in the NBA, the whole entire league makes the playoffs. Why not? Let's just add another play-in game while we're at it for the NBA, so we don't even have to worry about the regular season. We'll just have the worst team play the worst team.
People have been making these arguments about literally every sport that expands their tournament for the longest time. We did it for college football. Oh, if you add a
college football has 4 teams in the tournament.
I know, but when they did that, they're saying you're going to devalue these games. You're going to devalue the Iron Bowl. It didn't. Now you're going to 12 teams. Oh, you argued on this show, if you do this, when you go to the 12-team games, this Tennessee-Georgia game where they're both top 10 doesn't mean a whole lot anymore.
Exactly.
And now we all are like, yeah, 12 teams makes sense. And then at some point, inherently, they will expand the tournament again in 10, 15 years, and we'll have the same conversations. What are we doing? We had the same conversations when they expanded 30 years ago or whenever it was to 64 teams. What are we doing? You're devaluing the tournament. We like it now. Things change. Things continue to progress, and everyone along the way pushes up against it. This is terrible. This is terrible for change. Every single sport, everything in life, change is bad, change is bad, change is bad. Change happens, you forget about it.
And soon
And it makes things better more often than not. And you know what happens when it doesn't make it better? You fix it. When it makes it worse, you fix it. In football, we change, right? Oh, they're gonna make it so that you can review pass interference plays. Oh, that was terrible. They fixed it back. Yes, is it harder to fix going to a 90-16 tournament to go back to 64? But they can. They're allowed to do that. Change is okay, guys. I swear. Because what
the Roman Empire said the same.
Roman Empire. I mean, what?
Well, go ahead. Casey, you got some ad reads.
And soon we'll all be dead.
What a history poll. Trace, why do you think the Roman Empire fell?
Well, I'm just saying. They probably sat around and started saying, you know what, all this change, no big deal. Let's just keep it going. Let's just throw another in the barrel, Johnny.
You pulled the cat out of the bag. Why do you think the Roman Empire fell?
Well, I could probably do some Googling and let you know, but off the top of my head.
Good pull. Casey, go to the ads.
Mouse Cop brought in a good point, a good statistic, real quick, Casey. Only 19% of teams in college basketball make the tournament. So you could argue that there could be room for more.
I would also like to say this too. If we're just gonna do the quick easy thing, the NIT tournament, there was 4 games that were decided by 1 possession games, and then there was 7 games, so half the amount of the NIT games that were
exciting basketball.
That were determined.
How many
by 2
NIT games? How many NIT games? If they actually made it to tournament, are you genuinely watching?
Probably
are we
all
watching?
Of them.
Yeah, are we watching?
Already watched the basketball
Yeah, we already
tournament.
watched the first 4.
The reason I don't watch the NIT is because it's
Gotcha.
not lingered. It doesn't
I didn't
advance.
watch either one of the first 4 16 seeds play each other. Did you watch those? No. How many first 4 games did you watch, Reed?
I haven't watched a single.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Good argument. Go ahead, Casey.
I'd like to know. I'd like to point out.
And why did you gamble on them?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
What time did the 16 seeds play, Trace?
What time did the 16s play?
Yeah.
I don't know, 6:40?
Oh, I was working.
we
Couldn't watch those games. I was
Right.
working.
You could DVR them if you cared.
DVR.
But you didn't care.
Come on, I gotta do the ad reads.
If you want to use that as an excuse, go ahead.
DVR.
But I know damn well you wouldn't have been watching them anyway.
Let me do the ad read so we can move on from this topic. Encore Technologies provides
Bearcats
IT solutions. The Bearcat Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. It provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from home computing to desktop to data center.
You got it.
Supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
I forgot, Lindsay. What is it?
I think it's productivity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Productivity. The path to innovation begins here. Visit encore.tech. Let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNIwater.com so you can buy this great tasting water. And let me tell you about our lovely sponsor, new sponsor of our show, Game Time. The Game Time app, the ticketing app. All year last year, anytime I needed to go to a Reds game right after our shows, I would use the Game Time app. Quick and easy to use. Lets you see your seats right up front. It's only 2 clicks away and you get your tickets. All pricing's up front. So it's one of the easiest apps to use. And it's...
Paper tickets aren't fun. You want to go to Game Time so you don't have to worry about that, and you get them on your phone. That's how tickets should be. That's how they were meant to be, and Game Time lets you do it.
Thanks, Elliot. That's right. Use Game Time, download the app, redeem the code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Game Time app, download it today. See what's around here. I'm sure opening day tickets are probably already on sale on there. Yeah. There's also concerts and stuff like that probably on there as well. Haven't looked at it in a while, but should check it out. Download the Game Time app.
Code OTB.
Code OTB.
How about that? The Roman Empire.
How are we gonna cut that up in the radio format, guys? That whole
was good.
discussion.
Well, he's gonna have to find different language. That's gonna be the big part.
What'd I say?
Well, I think you said bastard a couple times. I don't know if you can say bastard.
Is that on? Google that. Is that on the list of things I can't say on the radio?
I don't think you can't say shit. Ass is fine.
It's a kids show, Casey.
I mean, those are all the words we use. Cat's already out the bag. I mean,
Oh wait, it's looking like bastards allowed. All right.
I thought.
Why
I
would
mean, who knew
bastard
the
not be
radio
allowed?
guy didn't know what the radio words you're allowed to say and couldn't say?
Yeah, I took that test.
Yeah.
I was not the one who didn't hit the dump button though. That was
Right.
not me. That was not on me.
Maybe you thought that was a word that was allowed to be said, so you didn't hit the button.
I would have pressed it on those words. Those were some bad words. He was flinging around. Is it time for the bracket? I'm really excited for this group bracket. I'm really excited.
I'm excited for this group bracket too.
Lindsay, are you excited?
I'm so excited.
Lindsay, is there anything in the world of what's the topic read or what's the segment read? College age.
Oh yeah, what's going on in the world according to a college age girl?
As of right now, not much going on, but
Lindsay,
Have they found Kate Middleton?
I don't know if they know. I think you're more invested in Kate Middleton than me. But did you watch the new documentary about the Quiet on Set?
Yes.
Nickelodeon?
Yes.
And then Drake Bell. And
Oh.
his
Yeah,
story.
I've watched all of it so far.
I watched all 4. I think there's only 4.
There's only 4. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've watched all 4. That's a very disturbing documentary, by the way.
Who? I mean, come on, guy. Yes, it's terrible, but we could have seen that one coming, right? There's an industry that's whole business model was exploiting children.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's just the world we live in. It's not good.
did you watch? And then we'll get back to the bracket. Did you watch the interview he did with Tebow from iCarly?
It was 20 minutes long. There's no way I'm
Horrible.
watching Dan Schneider.
Oh,
just
it's horrible though.
blab
They
on
must have paid
Talking
nonsense.
bagel on a stick guy?
Huh?
Bagel on a stick guy?
Yeah, they paid him like 20. They had to have paid him like $20 million for that because every question was so in favor of Dan Schneider that it was honestly gross.
I only watched 2. Did you watch all?
Yeah, I
20
watched it
minutes?
all.
I
I
could
watched
not
it
sit
all.
and watch him because there's no way he's gonna be like, no, yeah, I did that.
No,
Like,
you need to watch it because every single question's in his favor. It's disgusting.
Does he admit to?
Go ahead.
Does
sorry.
he admit to anything?
No, well, he admits like he just says he's sorry a bunch. and
Yeah,
then
he
he's
says
not
he
actually
owes some
sorry.
people like a big apology.
Yeah.
But
There's some actresses and some that are
from like Zoe 101. And
the
stuff
one
like
the that.
Oh,
one girl that from
Alexa
Zoe, yeah,
or something?
she's deeply disturbed. Amanda Bynes Deeply Disturbed, Jeanette McCurdy, right?
Did you read her memoir?
Oh my goodness.
So am I a bad person if I decide I'm just not going to watch that?
No.
That's okay. Listen,
I just I feel like ignorance is
you
bliss.
don't,
from
you
time
don't
to
have
time.
to know everything, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't. You're allowed to close your eyes and think that the world is better than it truly is.
and plus,
I do
I
that
think
every day.
It's more interesting to us too because we grew up with.
Correct. We
Nickelodeon.
watched all
watched
of those
it.
shows.
We
Drake
watched
and
all
Josh,
those
Zoe
shows.
101. Yes.
Well, did you grow up watching Boy Meets World? Was that your era?
That's Trace's era, but yeah.
Well, did you like a couple
I
of
got
them?
the end of it.
A couple of them.
Topanga.
A couple of the main actors
Bell.
from Boy Meets World are the ones who signed like
Yeah, I
a letter
saw
for
that.
Brian Peck saying that he shouldn't go to jail and like all this stuff. I think it was Ryder something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And then
he was.
Will
yeah,
Friedle.
Yeah, those were the two main actors. Yeah.
Yeah, two guys.
Drake Bell's not a great guy himself. But anyway, it's
Is
bracket-
Saved by the Bell a part of this whole?
No, see, it was like mid 2000s, like Drake
Yeah.
and Josh. Zoe
I don't think I really
101.
watched. I watched Sports Center on repeat most of my childhood. Like usually when you got to like the 5th rerun of Sports Center, I'd stop watching. When you could start to recite all the lines of
Yeah.
Stuart Scott, then
When are they
I
gonna
knew it was too many.
When are they going to bring back that the left sidebar graphic when it
J-bar?
said all the J bar when it said all the topics? I missed that on ESPN. They
Yeah.
don't do it anymore. Bracket time. You ready?
Sure.
Let's
How are
do
we
it.
going to do this?
Well, I'll tell you how we're gonna do it. We're gonna go line by line, and we're gonna each person here gets the vote. Lindsay's obviously the 5th vote. She's the tiebreaker.
All right. I do want to keep track of if somebody's the tiebreaker. I want to find out what their record is.
Okay. So let me. All right.
Is there a way to do that?
Yeah. So Lindsay is the tiebreaker. So she is the one that decides it.
Okay.
So this will be the tiebreaker record here. Okay. Here we go.
I'm gonna put the bracket up on screen once I get this all situated here in a second.
Chicken Genius said Screech went off the deep end. I'd never seen that coming.
Who's Screech?
Screech was from Saved by the Bell. He now sells sex toys.
Oh.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that.
You know the guy from
But-
Every Place as a
All right,
Producer?
here we go. Like, give me 1
The-
second. I'm gonna
Stereotyping
The guy who
sometimes.
dated Harper
You
or
can see it.
whatever.
Oh really?
I can see it.
Yeah. Screech kind of came off as a little bit of a creep.
have
I've got it on mine if you just want to do.
I like that. But you're gonna have to zoom in just a smidge.
I'll zoom in.
He's got it. He's figuring it out. Right now is the time that I'm supposed to buy Casey some time to get the graphic pulled up, and that is what I'm going to do here.
What was your favorite invention of the Roman Empire?
Morals.
Morals?
I don't think they had many good ones back
Yeah, I
then.
don't
They didn't have good morals. Morals are the wrong
I think
word.
they invented the
maybe,
shovel, though.
Maybe loyalty. That's the word I'll use.
I don't know. I think they had historically bad loyalty. didn't
Yeah,
they?
I mean,
That's
have
why
you ever heard of?
that's why it kind of started to unravel. Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of what the whole thing with Julius Caesar, but not a whole lot of loyalty there.
Yeah, I don't think they were very good people.
Hey, it's
All
the
right,
Ides of March. Let's go.
Here we go. Here we go. So, Casey, you can fill that out right there on there.
Yep.
I'm
all
gonna put
the
it on.
games.
Yours is gonna save, right?
Yeah, I'll have it a printable version of it. So I
Okay.
can say
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. All right. So this is the Chatterbox Office group bracket. If Sean wants to come in here and object to anything, he can feel free to do so. We start up in the top left quadrant in the east. What is that? The east side.
Sure. UConn.
UConn versus Stetson. 1 versus 16.
I'll die on the hill that UConn will win this game.
Yeah,
I'm going out on a ledge.
UConn.
Give me UConn.
All right.
UConn.
Yep.
You're gonna have to, we have to be verbal here. You have to give your vote. This is a democracy. I vote UConn. UConn advances.
All right.
FAU, Florida Atlantic, taking on Northwestern. 8 versus 9 seed. I think Northwestern kind of stinky. I don't think they're very good. Now
Still
I
got
think,
Boo Booey?
huh? They
Still
do.
got-
They do.
Give me Boo Booey.
Who on Northwestern don't you like exactly?
I don't know their players. I just don't know they're not very good. I've
They're from
watched them.
Chicago too, so Boo Booey.
Okay, so
Northwestern.
you like Boo Booey. FAU has that really that they've got that big guy down low. I like a lot.
Dynamite.
Now
They were fun last year too.
they were
right?
fun last year. I think they've had a down year. In fact, I don't think they should have been an 8 seed. But whatever, they can have it. I'm going to go. My vote is FAU here.
So we got one for each.
Casey.
I'll go with FAU. I know they were fun last year.
Northwestern.
Ooh, Lindsay.
Lindsay.
FAU or Northwestern?
So FAU, the Owls, and Northwestern. What are they?
Wildcats.
Wildcats.
I was gonna go Northwestern.
Nice. That's a
There
good
we
call.
go.
All right.
It's a good call.
Okay, then we go down to the 5-12, historically the most famous upset. We have UAB, the 12, versus San Diego State. Mountain West, the 5. My vote is San Diego State.
Mine as well.
I'll be a dragon. Blaze up, baby.
San Diego State.
So that's it.
Yeah.
All right, 4 versus 13, Auburn versus Yale. I do like, by the way the Ivy League does it. I like they do just do a Final Four.
They changed that, I believe. Oh, yeah, you're talking about the Final Four.
Yeah,
They used to have just the regular season.
I like that. So I will
West
vote.
Coast Conference does it the best.
West Coast does do it the best. That is a very good way to do it. Auburn is my vote. The 4 seed Auburn taking on Yale.
I feel like it should be Auburn as well.
Auburn.
Auburn advances.
Auburn advances.
BYU taking on Duquesne. Duquesne, I believe, has not made a tournament since 1977 heading into this year. They are the 11 seed taking on BYU, who was given a 6 seed because they cannot play on Sundays. That's a fun fact for you. They were a 5 seed.
63% wanted to, just so you know, to close this poll out, did say that our jinx is the same as curses, and 63% said no.
How about that? My vote's Duquesne. I'm going for an upset here.
Duquesne, huh? I'm picking BYU.
BYU.
I'll take Duquesne.
Let's go. Lindsay?
I was gonna say BYU.
You want BYU?
Yeah.
Other housekeeping items really quickly. Please enter the pool. Unlike what Casey thought, the brackets do close as soon as they tip off the games, rightfully so. And we want you to be a part of that. And if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button today, that'd be really good. We would really like that.
3 versus 14, Illinois, Morehead State. I think it's a unanimous Illinois here.
Yeah, I think it was Tyga that once said, I'm from Shy City, but I make that Illy noise. So give me Illinois.
Okay, that's 2.
I don't think this is unanimous. I got Morehead State on my bracket.
Bonk.
Morehead State.
Ooh.
Okay, Lindsay. Illinois or Morehead?
Illinois.
All right.
Tough.
Do you know what
Got overruled,
Illinois'
Trace.
mascot is?
No, what is it?
I don't think Illinois is that good.
The Fighting Illini.
The Illini. 7 versus 10, we have Washington State taking on Drake. I've watched Washington State. Trace and I bet on Washington State when we were in wherever we were, Arizona. They're horrible. Legitimately horrible. I'm going to take Drake based on, I don't know anything about Drake. I know they're a decent team this year. They're a 10 seed. I'm going Drake here. Washington State stinks.
I haven't watched any tape of Washington State. I've seen a certain tape of Drake. Give me Drake.
Okay, we got 2 Drakes.
I bet on Drake as well because
All right,
Elliot's
Drake
so
advances.
passionate about this.
Iowa State taking on South Dakota State, 2 versus 15. I don't think it's close, but you guys want to just pencil in Iowa State and call it a day here?
I'll take South Dakota State.
All right.
Where. She move my body like a cyclone. Give me the Cyclones.
All right, so Iowa State advances. And we'll Casey, let's just stay in this region, and then we'll just finish out each region, region by region here. UConn Northwestern.
I'll die on the hill that UConn wins this game, too.
I agree with Rita Roo here. I think UConn wins this one.
I'm with you as well.
UConn advances. San Diego State is taking on Auburn, a 5 versus 4. I think both these teams are actually pretty damn good. My vote is going for Auburn and Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl, it's a sweaty boy. You ever watch that guy coach basketball? He sweats through every shirt he has.
Yeah, that's a sweaty boy myself. Give me Bruce Pearl.
I like that.
Pearl.
2 sweaty boys, or you can make it a third.
Mr. Crab's daughter.
Am I mistaken by saying that this would be a rematch, UConn and San Diego State? Am I mistaken?
No. That's
Yeah,
big brain. That's big brain.
that's big
Casey
brain.
coming through.
That's why I would go with San Diego State here for the story.
I think the Mountain West stinks. Capital S,
Auburn
capital
advances.
T, capital I, capital N, capital K, and a capital S.
How about that?
So
we're
I'm going to
Auburn.
go with Auburn.
Auburn advances. BYU taking on Illinois. Hopefully that game's not on a Sunday.
Probably will be.
Well, it can't be because they can't play on that day.
I'll tell the NCAA tournament that.
I'm just they did tell them that. That's why they're not a 5 seed anymore. They're a 6 seed. They did tell them, and it worked. They just got a whole new seed.
What
the whole
happens-
bracket changed because BYU doesn't want to play on a Sunday. All right,
Boy, I'll tell you what, I feel confident in the leadership group that runs that.
Illinois.
We have freedom of religion here in the States. Give me
Sure.
the Illinois.
I'm going Illinois as well.
I would suggest Illinois says they don't play on Saturdays.
Illinois advances. Drake versus Iowa State. I'm going with Iowa State because Big 12, we got to stand together as one.
I'll take Drake.
I'll go with Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Iowa State advances. Okay. And I believe we're getting closer here. Auburn versus UConn. That'll be a good game.
UConn.
I'm going UConn as well.
UConn.
All right.
And finally, we have Illinois versus Iowa State.
Give me the fight in the Illini.
I'm gonna go with Reed, Illinois.
I was gonna take the Cyclones.
Okay.
2-1.
Trace, Cyclones or Illinois?
I can't stay now. Illinois lost in the first round. Iowa State might have lost in the first round. I don't know. I'll take Iowa State.
Okay, Lindsay, Iowa State or Illinois?
Illinois.
Good pick. It's a good pick.
Lindsay has back-to-back Illinois on her tiebreaker sheet.
Yeah, she's all in on the line now.
And finally, to advance to the Final Four, we have UConn taking on Illinois. I'm going with UConn. I'm going to die on Reed's Hill with him. Just going to be me and Reed. That's it. We're the only two guys on that hill.
I think we are the only ones that are taking UConn to win it all. I looked in the bracket. I was the only guy that picked UConn to win it all. Give me UConn.
You can see that?
No, you cannot yet.
No, I'm just saying because everyone has UConn to win it all.
All right.
Two UConns. You guys want to fight it or do you want to ride with UConn?
No, I'm with UConn.
All right, UConn advances. We head down to the lower quadrant, the West, and we have North Carolina Wagner. Are we going to waste our time with
No,
Wagner?
let's not waste our time on some of these.
North Carolina, Michigan, Mississippi State, Michigan State.
Mississippi State.
I think Michigan State doesn't deserve to be there for that reason. Give me the Spartans.
I'm going Spartans too.
Oh.
Lindsay, tiebreaker time. Mississippi State, Michigan State.
Mississippi.
There we go.
Okay.
You
Good
were on
choice.
my side for the first three. Now you're
All
picking
right.
the other side.
St. Mary's, Grand Canyon, 12-5. I'm going Grand Canyon 12.
St. Mary's.
Beat Xavier.
I'm gonna say St. Mary's.
Xavier beat St. Mary's.
No, you're right.
Grand Canyon, beautiful place. So I'm going to go with the Grand Canyon.
Lindsay, Grand Canyon, St. Mary's.
You going Lopes up, or you going against the mother of Jesus Christ?
Nice. Way to frame that one, Reed.
Yeah, I don't know anything about these teams, so I guess I'll go with St. Mary's.
That's a good call. It's a good call.
When you put it the way you put
St.
it, I'm gonna go
Mary's.
against it.
All right, Alabama, the 4, 13, Charleston, and Pat Kelsey, Elder Grad. I'm going with Pat Kelsey, the Elder Grad. 13 upsets Alabama.
Oh, Elder in the tournament? Yeah, I'll take the other side. Give me the Crimson Tide.
He's got Alabama.
I got Alabama.
He's got Alabama.
Alabama.
He's got Alabama. All right. We have Clemson, the 6, versus the Lobos of New Mexico, the 11. I'm riding against Sean Spurlock here, and we're going to take New Mexico.
What a good matchup for New Mexico. Clemson. I don't like Clemson at all. So.
Neither do I. No rationale behind that thought either. So we got 2 New Mexicos on this side.
I'll end it. New Mexico, Brian Urlacher. For the pride of Brian Urlacher. Give me New Mexico Lobos.
Love it. Baylor,
There's that.
Colgate. I'm going Baylor. Anybody else object?
I'll take Colgate.
Okay. Reed.
Rawr. Bears.
Okay.
I'm going Bears.
Bears advance. We have Dayton versus Nevada. This is my bet of the year, bet of the century.
Oh, really? What is this?
This is Nevada -1 in this game. They are the 10 taking on the 7 seed fraudulent Dayton. Dayton won't have their little super fans to come to Cincinnati in this one.
Gotcha.
I'm going Nevada. They're the better team. Nevada wins this game.
Who you got, Casey?
I got Nevada too.
That's right.
I have my super max play whale bet of the year. I am going to take Dayton.
A little bit disrespectful.
Dayton.
All right,
I'm gonna
Lindsay.
pick Dayton.
Oh, picking Dayton.
What a joke.
Never felt better.
I mean, what an absolute travesty that was for us, Casey. Arizona, the 2 versus Long Beach State. Now, usually I would skip over this one, but Long Beach State's coach has been fired. The issue is he's still coaching. So they fired him before the conference tournament. He said, I'll just coach it out. Well, I'll just coach it out to the end of the year. These are my guys. He wins the thing. He had a very funny press conference yesterday where he said, I don't want to have to answer any of your questions because I'm here on free time. It was very funny. For that reason, I'm going Long Beach State here, 15 over a 2.
Good luck.
I'll go with Arizona.
Arizona.
Jason Giambi, Evan Longoria, Troy Tulowitzki all went to Long Beach State. But that's a different sport. Give me Arizona.
Oh, you're so silly. All right, North Carolina, Mississippi State, 1 versus 8. I think North Carolina wins. Don't think it's close. Anybody else object? Gonna need a response.
All right. No one's objecting.
No one's objecting. St. Mary's versus Alabama, 5 versus 4. I'm going to go with St. Mary's here.
I'll take St. Mary's too.
I'm going to go with Alabama.
Lindsay.
Alabama.
There you go.
So you want Alabama?
Yeah.
You want Alabama.
Okay. That would be unfortunate for Xavier because you'd really like Xavier to have the better win there if they were able to advance. New Mexico, the 11. 3-seeded Baylor Bears. Again, I'm going upset. I'm going New Mexico. The 11 seed advances to the Sweet 16 against Baylor.
Spare me this. What makes you like New Mexico so much?
I think they're good. I think they're underrated. The tournament committee said that they wouldn't have actually made the tournament had they not won their conference tournament at the end. I thought they were already in. I think they're decent. So I'm going to go New Mexico as the 11.
That's what you love about them.
I do. I think they're feisty. They had to win that tournament to get in. Hungry Dog always runs faster, and that is why I'm going with New Mexico.
You're leaning up against the committee's opinions as to why you like them, right?
No, I'm leaning up that the committee hated them. So I'm saying I'm going against the committee.
You're fading the committee.
Correct.
Got it.
I'm going Baylor.
Baylor.
I want us to go Baylor and Arizona, so the final 4 teams in this region are 1, 2, 3, 4. So give me the Bears.
Now you just ruined that.
All right, Bears advance. Dayton versus Arizona. I'm going Arizona by a long shot.
Yeah, I'm going Arizona as well.
Dayton.
Arizona, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4.
North Carolina versus Alabama. I'm going North Carolina, and it's not close.
Yeah.
Give me Bama.
Okay.
Alabama.
Cool. Lindsay?
UNC.
UNC. Lindsay's on the clock. Baylor versus Arizona. Fun fact: if Arizona were to win this, I believe it's Caleb Love, right, for Arizona.
That would be correct.
So
yes.
he would then come to play his former team, North Carolina, and all his friends. So I'm going to go Arizona there for a fun matchup.
Didn't you just have Arizona losing the 2 rounds ago?
Yes, but now that we've advanced them, they kicked Dayton's ass. Now they're getting hot.
Got it. They're getting hot. Arizona.
Okay.
I was going Arizona as well.
And it's
so
over.
I'm
Advancing to the Final Four, North Carolina or Arizona. My vote is the Tar Heels. Shout out Marty.
Marty is not very high on the Tar Heels, and it feels a lot like Trace and how he feels about Kansas. So I'm going with the Tar Heels.
2 Tar Heels.
Arizona.
Arizona.
Lindsay.
I was gonna go UNC again.
All right. There we go. North Carolina.
All right, we go up to the top quadrant, the top right quadrant, and we have the South, Houston versus Longwood. Normally I'd skip over it, but we know what happens with phallic objects in this tournament. So,
Yes.
Houston.
Longwood.
Houston.
Longwood.
Houston.
Oh!
Come on, Lindsay.
Boo! Boo!
You know Houston almost lost
She
round
wasn't
1
even there
last
for that
year,
stat
right?
yesterday. She wasn't even there for the stat. Nebraska versus Texas A&M. Nebraska has the Japanese Steph Curry, is how they've labeled him.
Dude, I watched. Did you watch them play Indiana in the Big Ten Championship?
Who, Nebraska?
Yeah, they hit 6 threes in 2 minutes.
Yeah, they're good.
It was incredible. Give me the Cornhuskers.
Steph Curry's never been more disrespected.
That's what they're calling him. So Cornhuskers advance, yes or no?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. We have Wisconsin versus James Madison. It's one of the more popular upset picks of this tournament. Wisconsin 5, James Madison 12, and I'm going to actually ride with Wisconsin here. I think Wisconsin's better than James Madison.
All right. James Madison for me.
I'm going with Wisconsin. They ended up picking it up there at the end.
Fun. Give me Jimmy Mads. Give me Jimmy Mads.
James Madison. Do you want me to real quick? Do you want me to do my impression of him before you make your pick?
Yeah.
I'm
What was
James Madison.
Lindsay, real quick, what was your favorite policy from James Madison as our president?
I don't even know.
I think he was responsible for electricity. What's your pick?
I like your impression. I'm gonna go with James Madison.
Yeah. All right. James Madison advances. Let me write that down.
When was he president?
Yeah, very early.
We have Duke versus Vermont. I think this Duke team kind of stinks. I like the catamounts of Vermont here. I'm going Vermont to face up a 13-12 in the second round of the tournament. I'm going Vermont over Duke. Casey.
I'll go with Duke.
Duke.
Reader do?
Duke.
Duke advances. This is my second biggest bet of the year.
Okay.
I watched NC State play. They've got the biggest guy of all time as their center. He is an electric factory, an absolute unit. I'm taking NC State as the 11 over the 6, Texas Tech. Love NC State. They are prime for a Sweet 16 run this year.
We don't have very many upsets.
A lot of chalk on this bracket. I'm not going to lie. Almost too much chalk.
I think I'm going to ride with Elliott.
Let's go.
He seems really passionate about NC State.
Let's go.
All right, my second biggest play of the year is going to be the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Why? Because I watched that team that Elliott's talking about being a wagon, and it took them a Hail Mary banked 3 to beat who? Virginia. That Virginia team that we all watched the other night, that's the team that Elliott found as the big win for NC State. So I'm going to make my second biggest wager of the entire tournament.
Are you going to mention when they beat
on
North Carolina
Texas
by
Tech.
double digits for the championship?
As I said, Texas Tech.
Okay, Reed?
I
to spring
like
training, I
the
don't talk
Wolf.
about
I like the
championship
Wolf
games.
Pack of NC State. By the way, Lindsey James Madison was the president when we did the Louisiana Purchase.
Louisiana Purchase.
So
Oh.
So is that a NC State?
yes, Wolf
Okay.
Pack.
So NC State advances. Kentucky versus Oakland. I believe most of the money on this spread. I think this is the heaviest spread of the tournament, with more public money than any other game on Kentucky to beat Oakland by 14 points. I am going to go with Oakland to upset Kentucky here. Oakland wins. Kentucky can't guard anybody.
I mean, there's a difference between covering the spread and winning.
There is
winning
massive
a game.
difference. You're right about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just take Kentucky. I think that I don't think they cover, but I do think they win.
Kentucky Oakland. What do you got?
This show's the best. Kentucky.
Okay, Kentucky Oakland. What do you got?
Oakland's a wagon.
That's right.
Oakland's a wagon.
Oakland or Kentucky?
I was gonna go with Kentucky.
Are you gonna tell her, or are you just gonna let that ride?
No, it's okay. I was fibbing about the Louisiana Purchase. Sorry.
Lindsay is the queen of chalk. 7 Florida, 10 Colorado. Colorado just fought their way in last night in a disgusting game. I'm going Florida.
Florida.
What's the
Florida,
question?
Colorado.
Florida.
Florida advances. Marquette, Western Kentucky. Nobody's taking Western Kentucky, so we're going Marquette. We go up top. We have Houston versus Nebraska. Is Houston fraudulent? I don't know. But I know they don't have Japanese Steph Curry. I'm going Nebraska, upsetting Houston here.
I'll go with Houston.
Houston.
Nebraska.
All right? Lindsay, Houston, Nebraska.
Houston.
I mean, let's pick more chalk, Lindsay. I mean, my God.
She just picked maybe the best team in the tournament. So
Well, I mean, she can't go more chalk. 12, James Madison, 4, Duke. I'm going James Madison. I think Duke stinks.
Are you keeping track of these tiebreaker picks over there?
Correct.
Okay.
James Madison, Duke. I'm going James Madison.
James Madison.
2 for James Madison.
James Madison.
Well, Duke.
What's the next one?
We have NC State versus Kentucky. The 11 versus the 3. I'm going upset again. NC State wins.
Jeez Louise, dude. Kentucky.
I'm going Kentucky.
Who am I picking between? Sorry.
NC State, Kentucky.
Give me Reed Shepherd because we share a name.
Give you Reed Shepherd because you share a name.
I don't hate that.
Okay.
Although our name isn't the same,
It was close enough.
and it's my middle name, not my first name. So
You said we had James Madison beating Duke, right?
Yes, correct.
That's what I just want to make sure. Florida Marquette, 7 versus 2. Big East. One of the 3 biggest teams that decided to make the tournament this year.
well, next year when it's expanded, they'll all make it.
That's right.
Give me Marquette.
Then we'll get to
I'm going
see
to go
how
Marquette
great
as
they
well.
are.
Anybody object to Marquette?
No.
I'm not.
Marquette advances. We stay up here. Houston, James Madison. I'm going to go Houston. We'll go chalky, chalk. I don't think anybody here is going to deny that. So Houston advances. Kentucky versus Marquette. 3 versus 2. If Cal's made it this far, he's going to win this game too. I'm going Cal.
Give me Marquette.
I'll go Marquette.
Marquette.
Wow. I see a trend here. They're all just picking against me. Houston versus Marquette to advance to the Final Four.
Who are you taking?
Taking Houston.
Give me Market.
Do it.
Houston.
I'm taking
Okay,
Houston.
thank you.
I'm taking Houston.
All right, Houston advances. Our final four: UConn, North Carolina, Houston. We got one more in the Midwest. Purdue is going to beat Grambling. All right. Well, Purdue, Grambling.
Purdue.
Purdue.
I'm going to say Grambling.
All right, go ahead.
Purdue advances. Utah State, TCU, 8 versus 9. I think this game is going to be I think this game might be our buzzer beater game. I'm going to go TCU on a buzzer beater.
Utah State.
What a stab. TCU.
TCU advances.
What a prediction.
Gonzaga versus McNeese. I will wait for you. 5 versus 12.
Give me Gonzaga.
I'm going to go Will Wade, 12.
McNeese.
McNeese advances. 4 Kansas versus 13 Samford. Kansas doesn't have any players. I think Samford is one of the better shooting teams in the country, and they are going to win this game. 13 seed beats the 4 seed Kansas. Samford advances for Elliott.
Nice.
I want to hear what Trace has to say first.
I think Kansas is going to beat the piss out of them.
All right.
All right, Kansas for me.
I'm also on Kansas.
Good pick, Reed. 11 Oregon. 6 South Carolina. I'm going with the bid steal. We're going Oregon here.
South Carolina.
Oregon.
Lindsay? Oregon or South Carolina?
I think I'll go with the upset for Oregon this time.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you bullied her. You bullied her into that.
We're quacking.
Absolutely bullied her. How do you feel over there, Elliot?
I feel great.
Yeah.
Might have a chance to win one here. Creighton, the 3 versus the 14 Akron. I'm going Creighton. Shout out to the Big East. Anybody object?
Creighton. Yep.
Great.
Creighton advances. Texas versus Colorado State.
Texas.
I'm going to go Texas too. I know Trace is going to probably
Give
go
me the
Texas.
Rams.
I'm
Give
going
me
to
the
take
Rams.
Colorado State, actually.
I'll take the Rams.
I think that they're the
Lindsay,
one team
Colorado State,
or
Texas.
one team in the Mountain
Colorado
West that's
State.
decent.
Colorado State.
Okay, Tennessee taking on St. Peter's. St. Peter's.
Yeah, say it again.
St. Peter's. If it's not going to be Longwood, it might be St. Peter's again. I'm going to go St. Peter's here.
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
I went to St. Peter's and Jane's grade school for 9 years of my life.
I'm glad you added the chains.
That's what it's called.
I know.
St. Peter's is my pick.
Tennessee.
It's a loser pick, but that's fine. Tennessee advances. We'll go back up top. Purdue, TCU. I'm going to go Purdue.
Purdue.
They advance. McNeese versus Kansas. I will wait for you.
Texas is going to win, by the way. I messed that up, but it's
too late
gone now.
Too
Just
late
wanted
now.
everybody to know.
McNeese versus Kansas. 12 seed. I'm going McNeese.
I'll go Kansas.
What?
Kansas is missing 2 players, Casey. Arguably their 2 best.
I'll go Kansas again.
That's tough.
Missing 1 player. Mr. Dynamite Info over there.
What do we got? Kansas?
You got to correct that.
You got Kansas?
I have Kansas.
All right, Kansas advances. Oregon versus Creighton. I don't think it's close. I think Creighton wins this game by 30.
Creighton.
Give me Creighton.
Colorado State, Tennessee. Trace took the Mountain West to advance. Will he have him do it again?
No.
No, Tennessee advances. Purdue versus Kansas, 1 versus 4. Again, I don't know how you guys keep riding with Kansas. They don't have any players. I'm going with Purdue.
If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up.
Purdue.
Purdue. Who they playing?
Kansas.
Oh, Purdue.
Purdue.
Creighton versus Tennessee. I'm going with Creighton. Rick Barnes, historically not good in the tournament.
Creighton.
2 Creightons.
Creighton.
3 Creightons and you're out. Purdue versus Creighton to advance to the Final Four. I've seen these Boilermakers play in this tournament, and each one is worse than the next. I'm going with Creighton here to advance.
What's Creighton's big man name?
I mean, you're gonna kill me. I don't know.
Kalkbrenner. That's actually a matchup that Purdue would not like. Kalkbrenner can kind of play away from the basket a little bit. I'll take Creighton.
I'm taking Creighton as well.
Creighton advances
Oh, over Purdue?
over Purdue. All right, we have our Final Four.
The Big East, the sad little Big East got all 3 teams to the Elite 8 and 2 in the Final Four.
They did. Yeah. We have 3 1s and the 3 seed. We'll start with the Glendale, Arizona side. Well,
That's in our
Glendale,
bracket,
Arizona.
by the way, just so you know.
UConn versus North Carolina. I'm going with UConn. If they made it to the Final Four, they're going to win it all at this point. I'm going UConn.
I will be the lone guy. I'll stand out on the edge, and I say UConn's pretty good. I'll take the Huskies.
I'll take UConn as well.
UConn advances. Trace doesn't get a vote.
Carolina.
Houston versus Creighton. Houston versus Creighton. I'm going to go with Creighton here. I actually think Creighton might have a little sleeper run. I'm going Creighton.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you.
Creighton.
The Big East makes it
This would
far.
be Creighton's first Final Four, by the way. Give me Creighton.
Creighton advances. We have our championship.
Creighton had every bit of a chance last year to make the tournament, or make the Final Four, and it just got stolen right out from underneath them.
UConn versus Creighton for the 2 Big East teams for the championship.
What a wild thing that is.
I wonder if I'm going to take UConn.
I'm going to go with
Oh my
UConn.
God. Elliot took UConn. Elliot took UConn. Oh my God.
What a wild setup.
I hate that we have these teams in
I'm
here.
going to go with Creighton.
Oh my God.
I'll take Houston.
Excuse me?
I meant Creighton.
I will take UConn. Oh my God. I took UConn.
Lindsay for the championship.
I didn't see that coming.
It's UConn or Creighton, right?
Correct.
I'll go UConn.
All right. All right. There it is. Let the confetti fall as they may. Let's throw out some random numbers. What's the total?
I'm putting 160. Is that fine?
160. What's your number?
150.
160, 150. I will go with UConn versus Creighton. 155.
Okay, we'll go 155.
No, what this is Reed.
Democracy, quadruple overtime, 212.
Wow, nice. Lindsay?
Let's average that.
Let's see how long Lindsay takes here. Let's figure out what this is. Lindsay, do you have one?
A number?
Yeah.
Yeah, what number do you think?
I heard someone say 150. Did someone say that? I don't know what number I'm doing here. It was.
Can you walk me through how you got to 150?
She doesn't know what she's doing.
What exactly did you see that made you say 150?
What was your calculation?
Yeah.
I was listening to other people's answers.
Gotcha. So that was very smart. That's very smart. It's actually a good life trait. Just try to pay attention to what others around you are doing and see if you can't mimic it. Fake it till you make it.
Just cheat.
So
I'm doing the average of all of
sounds
ours.
like the average of all those is what?
165.
Can you put decibels in there? See if it'll let you.
No.
165.4.
Yeah, see if it lets you. Why not? No? Damn.
I'll round it up to 166.
They got good coders there at
166.
ESPN. Who knew? They got guys that know how to work computers. Enter us into the sweepstakes. I mean, you never know what happens if we win all of our.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, we can't not check that and get a perfect bracket.
We're going to need a new car.
Uh-oh. I think you should just put me on the main screen at this point. That would be a pretty smart
That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
And what do we
All
got?
right, we have 3 minutes till the top of the hour. That would be
March
noon.
Madness is about
And we
to
have
begin.
March Madness right at our fingertips. Hopefully we try to entertain you here for the 2 hours that were previous to the tip.
Recap the show.
I'll recap the show.
What did we talk about?
Let me get to it. I'm trying to get to it. We talked Simon Sukosius hitting game-winning threes. We talked Shohei Ohtani helping a friend out. Just shoving over.
I wish I had a friend like that.
Yeah, just throwing out a couple bucks, covering a couple gambling losses. Then we talked about how the Reds essentially we're probably going to have to close as a franchise, and Elliot suggested that they probably shouldn't even play this year. And then I tried to talk him off that ledge. And then we got into something I listened to on the way in, which is the NCAA tournament expanding, which I don't understand why we have to change things that are good. But I guess to Reed's point, change happens, so you just embrace it. So I can't wait for me getting my I won't get a pension, but maybe when I get my Social Security, I can't wait to watch the 164 team tournament. It'll be alive and well. Can't wait for it. I'll tune into every
That's
game.
a good point.
Before
The change
before we
from
close out of
pensions to
this, we should have a
401ks.
group
And
chat,
then,
right?
Was
and
a
then we
bad
had a
change.
lot of history on the show. We had a significant amount of that. I don't want to get into all of it, but we went from the Roman Empire to electricity being
fall?
formed.
When did it fall?
There's a big debate on why it fell. I mean, some of it's they're not good guys.
There's a big debate on when it fell, too.
What?
There's a debate on when it fell, too.
Okay, yeah, there's debates everywhere. That's why we host a show every day, is just so we can talk about random stuff. So enjoy this. I am so glad that the rest of America has finally caught up to the OTB chat, which is just burn away the boss man's money while you sit around and you listen to a show and you don't be that productive while you're at work. The rest of the country will join you for the next 2 days. So shout out to America's workforce. I can't wait to see the headlines and the great motion picture that people will sit there and put on our television screens at night about how the 5 o'clock news is going to come on and they're going to lead with the headline.
Productivity.
The American productivity is down $167 billion over the next 2 days for the NCAA tournament. How they came up with that number, I don't know. You shouldn't care. Go enjoy your life. You know why? Because you're going to be dead at some point. That is how you close out the show. Have a hell of a time. Enjoy the games. We'll see you back here better than ever tomorrow at 10 a.m.